You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. We are live and local here in San Diego, Sereno Valley, to be exact, bringing you the most important hour in radio and telling you everything they don't want you to know. When I say they, I mean the bureaus, the banks, the government, and media, and anyone else who's trying to take your money by doing the wrong thing. Okay, today we're going to be talking about debt settlement a little bit, a.k.a. the financial devil, credit score crusher, worst financial move anyone could ever make in their entire life. We're also going to go through a couple of other debt relief strategies, including bankruptcy. We're going to go through all the credit news as well, starting with something on the banks. But first, let me introduce my guest into the studio. Every Wednesday, we do Bankruptcy Wednesday, but tomorrow will be preempted by the Padres. I don't make Padres announcements anymore because I can't get it right, but there is a game tomorrow, and so I'm not going to be on. Anyhow, we have William McDonald in the studio today. William, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Derek.
It's always nice to have a professional that you can consult when it comes to things that are important as your financial situation, your debts, whatever it may be. I get a lot of questions right now. A lot of people are asking me about the new financial overhaul. I don't know. Have you looked into that much at all, William?
As far as what
the effects are, is it going to affect anything that has to do with the banks, with debtors at all, or is it just?
No, as far as from the bankruptcy side of things, I think everything's going to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, there's that student loan bill that they're throwing around in Congress, but
fingers are crossed on that one.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really see anything right now that's going to affect the bankruptcy practice.
Okay, so a lot of people are asking me what's going to happen with credit. How are these things going to affect me? Where are the banks going to come back and get us? Because we all know they're simply not just going to sit back and take it on the chin. They're going to figure out ways to get the money, which is why you're seeing a lot of pressure on the payday loan business, as we discussed previously. The payday loan business actually prevents the bank. They steal a little money from the banks, which is kind of neat. It makes me not hate them so much as I should, because the banks made $38 billion last year on overdraft fees, and a lot of these payday loans actually prevent that. Far more. There's a much greater percentage of interest, so to speak, on the overdraft fees and charges from the banks than there is from all these payday loans, which is crazy because the payday loans are like 300%. I mean, it's just nuts. But there's some things going on with the new financial regulations. Not a whole lot is going to affect credit, but a lot will affect credit cards, and credit cards are a very important part of your credit score, 30%. So here's a couple stories I want to read you back to back because I think it's pretty interesting. Now, the first one says, the headline is new financial regulations may cut big banks' profits 13 to 14%. So these new financial regulations that could chop the big banks' earnings by 13 to 14%, with Citigroup, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley among the hardest hit. Analysts from Goldman Sachs and Barclays Capital estimated this. Okay, so Goldman Sachs and Barclays estimated this. Jason Goldberg, a banking analyst at Barclays, forecast a 14% hit to industry net income in 2013 from the legislation. The new rules, which President Barack Obama could sign into law by July 4th,
so I know who's asked to kick,
represent the biggest regulatory changes for banks and brokers since the Glass-Steagall blah blah blah. So this is story one. Now listen to story two. Now you notice that Citi didn't get mentioned there. Listen to what Citi said. Citi's Parsons, which is a guy who's he's the chairman for Citi, says that Obama plan will make the big banks bigger. We've got a button for that. So how does this make sense? Let's put two and two together here. Now, he said that they will make it tougher for smaller competitors, and the big are going to get bigger. And also that the plans will lead to a denser regulatory environment, may not create any material impediments to Citigroup's growth strategy. So if Citigroup is saying, and this makes sense, we know that this administration is the type of administration that likes to pretty much just tell you,
well, you're going to eat it whether you like it or not.
We're going to do whatever we want. We're going to pass.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We're going to do what we want. We're going to pass some stuff. We don't really like the idea of competition, so we're going to try to cling on to the big guys. The government is definitely involved with the big banks. They want it to just be the big banks. They go to the big banks and say, hey, what do you need? And they say, what we need is no competition. I mean, what's better for business than no competition? So
we free money.
Free, yeah. It's and free money. Yeah. Can we have free money and no competition? We'll figure out how to make money from there. So they basically are coming back to the government and saying, well, what you need to do is you need to make these things happen. Make it stringent laws, cut profits down so these smaller banks can't absorb it. A 13 or 14% hit to Bank of America, and I'll pull up the Yahoo Finance at the break, and we'll tell you next time exactly how much money they make. But a 10%, 15% hit isn't going to put them out of business. Now, a smaller business, it might do that, and their margins may not quite be that high. But a big bank can absorb that, and that's what's so interesting about this. When you read these headlines back to back, make no mistake, folks. The government is not trying to hurt the big banks with these regulations. They are trying to help them actually grow their business. And that is what is happening. So, how can we fight back? Well, there's two ways. Number one, use a credit union. Just that simple. They are great ways that you can combat the big banks' philosophies and the way that they dig into your wallet every opportunity they get. And then, of course, the other one is my favorite, Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection. This is where you can take the shaft that you have been dealt by the big banks, the 29 to 35% interest rates you might have on your credit cards, the piranha hour, as I call it. As soon as they smell blood, as soon as they see you've missed a payment somewhere, they jack your interest rates up, they increase your minimum payments, they come after you. I call it piranha hour because they all do it. They'll all do it. If you got to Discover, an Amex, a Citi, a Bank of America, and a Chase card, they're all going to do the same thing at the same time because they're going to try to get as much money from you as they can before you sink. Now, when it comes to relieving yourself from these debts, the best option that anyone has is Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, when we talk about Chapter 7, William, I want you to explain a couple things. I like it because, number one, it's fast. 90 to 100 days, you're done, discharged. All your unsecured debts are gone, save student loans. Maybe there's some other exceptions that are small. Lease agreements, you got a bad lease, rip that sucker up, you're done with it. And in most cases, your credit score is going to go higher. Plus, it's so cheap. We look at the alternatives. What are the alternatives? The alternatives are what? You go and you get counseling that takes 3 or 4 years, and maybe if you follow the plan, maybe you'll have it paid off, but you'll be financially strapped that entire time. If you go and do debt settlement, you're just going to get flat out ripped off. We'll go to that in more detail in a second. But what are some of the things? Because really, when people get done, when they discharge the Chapter 7, and they always call me back to thank me, as if I did anything other than just refer them to you. But they always feel so good about it. I mean, they're walking around.
I'm Rick James.
They're just happy. Yeah, they're walking into the room. I mean, they're walking into my office. The first thing they say is,
I'm Rick James.
It's a great feeling. It feels great to get rid of all your debt. I mean, I've not been able to do it myself, but if the time ever came, my goodness, I wouldn't hesitate. The idea of being able to eliminate all of your credit card debt, have a higher credit score, do it cheaply and quickly, it just sounds too good to be true.
The corporations don't hesitate. They'll file bankruptcy.
Yeah, and what are you showing me right there?
I was just looking at the business section of the Tribune today, and there's an article there that Say San Diego, which is a luxury hotel downtown, is just filed for Chapter 11.
Chapter 11.
And so... obviously,
I heard initially, this was maybe a month ago, that they were actually that property was going to be foreclosed, and that there was like an $80 million loan or something like that. That was
right, as a German bank, and it was actually going to put into a receivership. So to stop that, so the assets will be turned over to a receiver, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy to the same thing that consumers can do to stop the collection action. I mean, it's the same principle applies to consumers as the big corporations, but they needed to stop that receiver from taking over their assets. And same thing when you have a car that's about to be repossessed or you're going into foreclosure, you can use bankruptcy protection to stop that foreclosure, repossession, collection, the calls, the letters, everything stops.
Any contact from any of those creditors immediately stops. Listen, call William for your free consultation today. If you or anyone you know is in a situation where they need to assess their debts, or if you're just barely able to make your minimum payments on your credit cards, if the piranha hour has begun on you, if you're getting calls, letters, incessant calls at work, at home, on your cell phone, you can stop all this stuff. You can remove all these debts, and you can move on and get your fresh financial start. That's what everybody really needs right now. Everybody really, really needs it. And you can get a free consultation with the best bankruptcy attorney in San Diego because you're listening to Mr. Credit. All you need to do is call 858-437-0103. It's 858-437-0103. You can make an appointment. You call right now, schedule an appointment to meet with William yourself. He'll show you exactly, all right, here's what you could do. Here's what it will net you. Here's what else you could do. I mean, you can look at, we pulled up that debt settlement contract that a listener sent to us last week, and we're looking at it, and it was just disgusting. I mean, it was terrible.